Joining me now on this episode of Locally Sourced EP is El Paso's own awesome illustrator. Everyone knows him as Pez. Pez, thanks for joining me today, man.
Glad to be here, dude. Glad to be here.
Dude, I'll be honest. I met you originally at the Upper Valley Market over on the west side that they have in El Paso. I fell in love with your illustrations and your style of art. It is just amazing, and I just
Thank you.
as I learned more and more about you, I was like, man, this dude's for real. Like you're very not only are you very talented, but you've done so much. And I just hope we can just fit it all in this episode. If not, we'll just have to have you back on, man. So again, thank you for
Yeah.
joining me. How have you been, man? How have you been?
I've been good. I try not to complain publicly. So I'm good. You're when you're a self-employed illustrator, it's just nonstop work. It's just nonstop trying to make something that people want. And so it's just really been a lot of that, which is stressful, but in a good way, because I mean you're blessed to be able to do something you did as a kid for fun, and now you're kind of monetizing it and surviving with it. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I applaud you for what you do, and like, I mean, you're talented. You bust your butt. It seems like you've been busting your booty for a long time with all the stuff you've been involved with, and yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to talk about. I can't we jump? We'll jump right into it, man. We could, if you don't mind, we'll jump right into your current project, which is your Robin Hood project. You want to talk a little bit about that first?
Yeah, absolutely. So Robin Hood of Archaea is the title, the official title for it, where for a long time it was called Robin Hood Steampunk.
Mhm.
Because when I came up with this idea back in 2003, so it's well over 20 years ago now, uh there this particular genre where it's like it's medieval time, medieval fantasy, but with like a touch of steampunk elements, like where there's a little more advanced technology than there should be, and like nowadays there's a term for it. It's arcane punk is what it's called, and there's like magic tech is what they call it when it's like the advanced technology that didn't exist or whatever. But yeah, so Robin Hood Steampunk was the working title, and it's funny because that's like forever what it is for me, and so I have to like blast Robin Hood of Archaea everywhere to remind myself that that's the name. And so Archaea is just the world that this realm that they inhabit. Um, it came to me. I was reading Battle Chasers. I don't know how much you're into comics, uh, because I know you're like pop culture, but
Yeah,
I don't know how like deep your like comic geekdom
yeah.
is.
I'm probably I would say I'd put my level as like average. I know most of the DC Marvel stories, and then I'm a little bit
Yeah,
into the IDW side, with Ninja Turtles, and also maybe a little bit with like Spawn and stuff like that.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm ashamed to say I'm not more involved with the independent comics, because I know those are like the ones that need the most support, because they're the ones that are getting it going, man, and they're the ones mostly doing it on their own. And
And
I apologize right now that I apologize for not being in depth, but please continue. Please continue.
no, that I think that's a pretty good stance to be in. I mean, like, you know, it's hard to support um indie creators because they're indie creators. Like the biggest obstacle that we have as indie creators is putting the project out constantly.
Yeah.
Like I'm working on this when we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I'm working on this book and it's only 17 pages. And I say only like it's nothing because in the industry, the standard is 22 pages, right? 22, 24 pages. And so I'm even lower than that. But the industry, the standard isn't one dude doing art and then definitely not doing art at the level, not level like that. Oh, it's so good, but like just it's polished, it looks painted, it's very refined. Um, this my book looks like the stuff these guys did with Ultimates 3, which is Joe Madden and Chris Leitner.
Oh,
It
nice.
looks like them, but I'm one guy and it took two of them to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not special. That's why I'm just freaking slow. You know what I mean? Like
No, you
and
just
that's
attention to
ultimately the
detail,
hard
man.
part
Attention
of,
to detail.
and ultimately that's the hard part with independent projects and with indie creators that they're just one guy or like two dudes and they're doing it in after their day jobs or
Mhm.
and since this is my job, the hard part is monetizing a passion project is very hard because you don't have people that believe in it,
Mhm.
you know, because and they shouldn't. They shouldn't believe in it. Like my mom believes in me, my wife believes in me, we're good. but but that's it. And they can't, you know, they can't fund it. So you have to try to like funding a passion project makes it very difficult to get it off the ground, and that's why a lot of indie creators give up, and that's why it's hard. And like you said, like you're not really into like the indie creators because they're indie, they're not famous, you don't know who to look for, you
Right.
don't know what project to you know. And it's like you can't fund it, so you can't make it, and then you can't make it, so I can't make you fall in love with it and then support it. So it's just this cyclical thing that you have to battle, right? Which is what I'm currently doing with like the 17-page book. I did a Kickstarter for it, and like I barely crossed that finish line. And I wasn't asking for a lot. I was asking for 5 grand, which barely covered a month of my expenses.
Mhm.
It didn't because half of it's going to the physical publishing of the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like I'm still having to do all this work and like, and again, people don't support it because they don't know it. And then like what I showed wasn't enough. And it's like, yeah, it's okay. Like I'm not mad or anything.
Mhm.
I'm just saying like some of the challenges that come from it. But yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier about like if you know if you're into comics, well, like Joe Mad, who I just showed that book of, he's like my favorite artist. He's very influential in my work. A lot of people have like compared it to it, and it's, you know, right because I definitely study his work, his line work, and all that. He did a book in the 90s called Battle Chasers. Um, he did a book called Battle Chasers, and this was after he had reached like superstardom with X-Men.
Yeah.
And he was a kid. He started like at 16 and he was an intern, and he'd get pinups thrown at him every once in a while by Marvel. So yeah, he's a superstar. He's a freaking amazing artist, and definitely my favorite comic book artist. And he did Battle Chasers, and Battle Chasers was an arcane punk story. Like it was medieval fantasy, looks like World of Warcraft, but like combined with a little bit of like anime or manga sentiment.
Nice.
And it was like nothing on the market at the time. So it just blew up, became this incredible thing. And I didn't know about it at all until after it ended. So and it ended abruptly. He got to issue 9 and then he quit and left on a cliffhanger. And it's funny because now 23 years in the future, they went back and finally did issues 10, 11, and 12.
Mhm.
Someone else did the art. Most people that I know didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it was not worth the 20-year wait.
Wow.
But you know, anyway, I don't want to talk bad about it because I think it's what he wanted and it's what it is, you know, like.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had in the early 2000s, I think it was like 2002, I had a friend show me Battle Chasers, and I was like, "What is this? Like, this was
Mhm.
like, it was like mind breaking."
Yeah.
Because it was like the first time that I was really seeing Joe Mad's stuff, like actually paying attention to it, and it kind of warped my brain. And I was like, "This is exactly how I want to draw. This is exactly the type of story I want to tell." And like that was just in my head. And then a few weeks or months later, I saw Robin Hood Men in Tights um, for the first time. This is again 2002, 2003,
For the first
and
time.
there's a scene where Little John grabs the post when they're in the hall and they're like trapped.
Mhm.
And there's a post, like a big log across the doors, and then Robin's like, "Little John, can you get the door?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll try." And he grabs it and throws it, and like in my like a universe exploded in my head in that moment because I was like, oh, if this was a fantasy tale, like Little John would be like that designated brute
Yeah.
of this of the group, right? And
Mhm.
then it was like, and it was just so it was just Robin Hood and Battle Chasers put together, and that's where like this birthed.
Yeah.
And since then I've just been refining and building the world and slowly trying to put it together.
Dude,
And then
that
in
is so
2000,
crazy that like that one scene like just like ignited that spark in you.
yeah, it honestly, it's just funny. Like it makes you think of like the Big Bang, you know, just there was nothing there. Like this Robin Hood universe didn't exist. There was nothing before it, and then it was just boom, and it was crazy. And I remember like drawing at the time because the main character in Battle Chasers is this big like classic hero. He's like a big Captain America, yoked up, like his name's Garrison. He's a really cool character. And I remember I was drawing Robin like that. Like Robin Hood was just like this classic hero, just big and like he was a mountain, you know. And then I was like, oh man, Lil Jon's got to be even bigger. Like just yeah. So and it slowly evolved, and now Robin's more of a Cloud Strife slash Link archetype, like Link from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be comparisons because he's half elf. He wears green. He's kind of blonde. So like I do get a lot of like, is he supposed to be Link? I'm like, no, but I get it.
Like
you know.
I can see the
Um,
comparison though, but I mean, I think you created him like your own. Like he's got I mean a lot of the aspects that you've drawn from a lot of the illustrations I've seen. I mean, it's just like you've made it your own, man. I mean, I honestly think that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to like I think I find that if the work is derivative of something, it's okay as long as you know that it's derivative.
Yeah.
You can lean into it and then just kind of grow with it, you know what I mean? I think it's like why I like you know, song covers so much. Like is just a fun different take on this one thing you already like or don't like, you know,
Yeah.
like uh
And like you said, they don't call it their own. It's just their version.
yeah, yeah, it's just like it's just our version, and it ends up it can be a lot of fun
Mhm.
that way. And you know, in my defense, like the world is very different from like any Robin Hood tale that you've had before.
Yeah.
And like I'm even like there was this video on YouTube. I believe the channel is called Bad Writing Tips. Yeah, like Bad Writing Tips.
Mhm.
And they talk about elves and fantasy. Um, and it's kind of poking fun about the fact that everybody is doing Tolkien's, you know, J.R.R. Tolkien's elves in their fantasies. Like everybody's just using that as like the basis, and everybody's just kind of
Right.
following that. And it's a little bit making fun of it and saying like the same guy who made up his own elves because there was nothing there is like the guy you're following. Like the guy that was like make it original is the guy you're copying.
Yeah.
And so it's like and like I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I love Tolkien's work, and like I was like, dang. So I felt kind of like bad. I was like, oh no, should I not make my elves like the standard, you know? And so I did change the elves a little bit. In my story, they're more like they're more of an Asian type of culture.
Mhm.
Like they're definitely more and it is an amalgamation because it's fantasy. So it's like a little bit of Korean. It's mostly a Korean base with a little bit of Chinese elements and a little bit of like Japanese elements, which is funny because all those cultures kind of like fed off each other as they
Right.
grew, you know.
That's cool.
But yeah, so like there's definitely some changes happening there and like magical creatures and like there's elves and orcs and magic. Um, so it definitely isn't going to be like the regular Robin Hood story that you know.
Right.
And I always tell people like the fun part is that Prince John is a necromancer. Like so like you've never had that before, and so that's going to be something pretty fun, I hope.
Yeah.
Um,
That it sounds cool, man. Like I know you've had stuff going on with that and you're still working on that, but when is or have you released it yet? Is there more coming? I mean, like what's the plan for Robin Hood right
So right now what I'm doing is I have these this is my little ash can of like the one that I'm currently working on. It's just the black and white
Nice.
of it, of the story. But this book is the one that I'm currently working on. It's the 17 pages, it's full color. Uh that's the one that we did the Kickstarter for.
Hmm.
And that's gonna be like the third publication ever of my Robin Hood stuff. Because the first one was in 2010. I did an issue 0 because I was planning to start it back then. And then it just, again, passion projects that you can't monetize take the backseat. And I've been very blessed that like as it's almost as like whenever I start kind of showing my work comes to me.
Yeah.
And so like paying work, more importantly. So I'm like, do I all right, maybe I'll put Robin Hood in the back burner for a little bit, and I always wanted it to be that I had a career, and I was hoping to become like a just I don't want to say the word famous, but like just an artist that people were recognizing in my work.
Yeah.
And then from the creator of such and such comes Robin Hood to kind of give me in my theory, it was like it would give Robin Hood a little bit of a leg up to like be accepted by more people. And then
Hmm.
so in 2010 when I did it, like, it was just it was a group of us. We had a little imprint that we called Urban Myth, and it just it just didn't work out. And so I never got to finish issue 0. And that was 14 years ago now. So like it's just there's no point in going back to that one. And it's been rewritten and all that. So that was the first publication. The second publication was technically this one, which is the Inktober book. This one was just this was just supposed to be um this is just supposed to be a exercise for myself.
Hmm.
Um this was 2019, and I was like, you know what? I've worked on these comics, I've worked on this series, and like nobody knows my name anyway. So this isn't gonna get better, in the sense that it's like, and I was like, and I feel like it's almost gonna be 20 years and I haven't done anything with Robin Hood. And I was like kind of kicking myself for it. And I was like, you know what? I just want to play with my toys. Because there's also like a lot of pressure with like, I need to create a world, and there has to be rules. And then I have to like make sure that I follow those rules, and then like be conscious of, oh, you can't change that because you said this part in the beginning. And then
Oh
am
yeah.
I gonna retcon it? Like there's that consistency. It's scary, you know? Um,
Yeah,
and for me,
a lot of people don't like get it. Like it's like when they people go back and like either movies or like prequels, and then like this happens, but like, oh, but it doesn't match what happened in the other movies.
oh
So
yeah.
like that's cool that your attention to detail is really cool like that.
Yeah, and so like that that attention to detail has been like paralyzing, you know?
You can pull your hair out, man.
Yeah, so this is why it's all so gray, man. Um, but so I was like, there was the Inktober. Do you know Inktober? Like, just for anybody that doesn't know what it is, Jake Parker invented it. It's an event in October that's like global, and artists participate. They release an official prompt list. It's 31 random words. They they're sort of related, the
Hmm.
words. Like last year's was sci-fi. Like most of them were kind of sci-fi inspired words. A couple years before that, it was fantasy. In 2019, I don't know what it was, but either way, so the goal is to do with these words, these prompts, you do one piece of art every day for the month of October.
Oh wow.
And initially, the idea was to do it in ink, but Jake Parker's idea was that he invented Inktober because he didn't know how to work with ink. And so he said, I'm going to do an ink drawing every day for the month so that I can get better. So the spirit of Inktober is like work on that one thing that you're not really good at and just do it for the month.
Yeah.
which I think is like really cool, and it's like a gift that he kind of gave our community, and I think that's pretty dope.
Kind of
But
like an exercise. Say, like expand your horizons, try some.
yeah, yeah, and like me, I work with just pencils, and then I used to paint with acrylic, but like that's how I learned how to paint. But like when I discovered digital, I was like, forget traditional paints. It's so messy and takes long because it's got to dry and
Right.
masking. And digital is just faster, like.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, I'll do ink drawings, and then I did it a couple years ago, and it was a lot of fun. And then, like I said, in 2019, going back, bring it back to the whole thing of like that paralyzing fear of like what is making sure everything's consistent.
Mhm.
Um, that year, I was just like, oh, you know what? This prompt of like enchanted. I was like, I'd be cool to draw Robin with like a cool, like either doing like an enchanting, like because they could do magic in the world, but like little tiny spells or whatever.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's got it like an enchanted bow or something, and then the next one was like frail, and I was like, oh, and it'd be funny if it breaks because this is an action comedy. So I don't think I mentioned that, but like this is an action comedy akin to like, I just always think of like Jackie Chan movies where it's like sometimes there's like high stakes, but like there's still like a lot of fun and whimsy throughout.
Mhm. Yeah.
So like I was like, oh, it'd be funny if that enchanted one just broke because it was frail, because that was the next word. And then the next word, and then like from there, like a little story started happening, and I was like, oh, maybe I can write a story with this. And again, it was just I wanted to play with my toys without that restriction of like everything has to match. You
Right.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And so I wrote this story, and I ended up adding 9 pieces of artwork. So it's 40 instead of 31 to make this. So this was that book. This was the second publication. And it's all black and white. It was done in well, that one's all digital, but this one was it's done in ink with screen tones,
Nice.
and then like the prompt is on the you read the prompt first and then you get the image, so it reads like a silent film,
Oh, that's cool.
and so it just kind of like has all that kind of stuff. And look, that's that frail one that I was talking about.
Yeah.
You can see like Robin being like, oh no, and everyone's favorite is the one before, which was Enchanted, the one where I was thinking of him with a magical bow, and then it ended up being just this crazy the word before it was husky, so I was like a big husky crossbow, and there's Robin just with the bow
Oh, that's cool.
gathering energy. And then the next page it explodes, and yeah. But so this is the other book that's been published, and it's a semi non-canon story, like, or semi-canon. I don't know. It happened, I guess. I just don't know when it happened in the main timeline of the whole story. But
Yeah.
so
Oh,
yeah, that's what's been published so far. And then I started doing this side quest story, which is like completely backwards.
mhm.
Um, but the idea was to once again just play with my toys a little bit, have fun with these characters, and develop like their personalities a little bit more,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, without the worry of like, and how is that going to come back to bite us whenever we do the main story and stuff like that. So I'm doing all of it backwards. And so yeah, this side quest one was like one of I came up with that idea back in 2021 actually, and it's been 3 years in the making of like me slowly carving away at it. And it was just this idea of, it was the year of the ox.
Mhm.
So I just thought it would be funny if Will was trying to eat an ox because it was the year of the ox. Because Will Scarlet in the show is very much like, or in the comic is very much like Goku,
Yeah.
like original Goku, that he's just like, when do we train, when do we fight? Like that's kind of it.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
cool.
and so yeah, that's what spawned this one. And yeah, the plan for this ultimately is going to be that these side quest stories, I'd still want them to be like little companion stories to the main line.
Mhm.
But having done this one and like the way I've done it, how long it's taken, the effort that it's taken, and all that. Like, I have to kind of revisit my game plan to be able to like publish something hardier for people, because I don't know if these 17 pages are going to hold people over for more than a month, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's
No, I get it. Yeah, no, man, dude, you are a busy, busy man. I mean, like you had said too, man. It's like a side hustle, but not a side hustle because that's you. That's like your job. So you're doing it like all the time. You're self promoting
yeah.
things like that. Then, like you said, it's so cool that I know it sucks because you get working on something personal of yours and it gets seen, and then someone else is like, "Hey, we need you to do this," or "Can you do this for us?" So you've had to put that in the back burner. I know that's just another sacrifice you have to do when you're doing your own stuff, and I totally understand it. I mean, I'm not. I'm in a different world of creation of creativeness, I guess, because I do video photography and stuff like that, and that a lot of my own stuff gets put on the back burner. So I kind of sort of understand what you're doing, but I mean, I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
day job, so I
Yeah.
mean, I don't I I respect what you do, man. I really really do.
Thanks, man.
But
I've
I mean,
been
I mean, you have all that side hustle stuff, but you've also, I mean, you've had like that. You've worked on other stuff too. Like I know what's you've worked on other stuff. Like you've had, you not only do you guys hang out and you guys have you show your work at one of the like a lot of the shows here in like Upper Valley farm. Is it farmers market now or what's the title of that now? I
I think
think
it's
it's the
called Upper Valley Farmers Market, or Farmer and Craft Market,
Farmer
something
and
like
Craft Market. Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah. You guys hang out there. You also you have you sell your stickers and your art and stuff like that. I mean, talk a little about, what got you going into doing that too.
that. So we I've been doing like little markets and shows and pop-ups and conventions since like 2009,
Hmm.
with my friends that we were doing that studio at the time, our Urban Myth. So that's Joey Lee Cabral, who's another amazing El Paso artist. He's one of the most talented dudes that I know. He just recently did some work with the Tom Leah
Hmm.
Institute here in El Paso. Uh, and so anyway, him, his brother, myself, and another friend of ours, we had started this little like imprint studio to make comics ourselves. And then so we are like, all right, well, let's try to monetize this a little bit. So we started kind of just doing like little shows, like little pop-up art markets and whatever we could find, and then conventions. And
Yeah.
that's been happening since 2009. And just it's always just kind of been like a little, hey, let's do that this weekend, because we all had our day jobs at the time, and
Yeah.
so it just kind of grew into that, and it just naturally fell on Upper Valley, which is probably arguably one of the better markets in El Paso.
Mhm.
They're just really well put together and they're organized.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's it's gotten really big and it's like I mean
yeah,
there's so many there's so many like low and I mean like it's like a playground for me because I've gotten a few guests from there too because like I mean
yeah,
I'm a huge supporter of local. I mean no matter what, no
yeah, of
matter
course,
artists, bakery, things like that. I mean
yeah.
and if you haven't been no, and if anyone not has been out there, I mean they're missing out.
We're actually gonna be there tomorrow, but
Sweet.
yeah, we're gonna be there with Deerfish. But yeah, it's funny because I was doing these shows, CamCon that we did last weekend with Nikki. I was with Nikki from like her first or maybe second show that she had ever done.
Hmm.
And this was like 2017 or 18. And I was doing shows with her, and then she moved to the German pub on, what is it, Viscount or McRae? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And we were doing the shows there, and then like every little thing, there's someone, I forgot the name of her other this other person's markets, but we did a couple with them as well.
Mm.
And just any little one that we could find we would do. And then, like I said, it just naturally eventually got to Upper Valley, and that was specifically my wife. She was just like looking. She just like was just searching like a weirdo, just looking on Google for information and finding things you need. Who does that?
Yeah.
Um, and and then she found Upper Valley, and at the time I know I had tried to get into Upper Valley like a few years prior and I couldn't get in.
Mhm.
I don't know if I did something wrong or I don't know because it was a long time ago, or I might even be confusing it with something else. But I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of that market. I couldn't get in, but yeah, let's try it again. And yeah, she got in with Deerfish, which is our other brand. We created Deerfish in 2020.
Yeah.
2020?
2020.
Yeah. And she just like was like, oh, let's just do that market. I was able to get in, and I was like, all right, cool. And at the time we had like 6 stickers, and like we did like bookmarks of those stickers, and it
Yeah.
was just such a sorry setup. But that's the first step. It doesn't matter. You got to just take that first
Yeah.
step, because
Yeah.
no one comes out a giant. You know what I mean? Like you have to grow into it.
Talk a little bit about deer fishing. How did that get started, man? If you don't mind, talk a little bit about deer fish.
Yeah, so it was funny. My I've been self-employed as an artist since 2016, and then it's been like a second job since I was 16,
Hmm.
ironically, or coincidentally. Um, so it's always been like something that I do. And then my my wife was like, "Hey, we should make our own brand and like just do something with it." And I was like, "Okay, what are you what are you thinking?" kind of thing. And she's like, "I don't know." And she came up with the name Deerfish because her her last name is Doe. My wife's Vietnamese descent, and so Doe, and she thought Doe, deer, and then Pez from Lopez, like is fish in Spanish,
Hmm.
and so she was just combined it to be Deerfish,
Oh, nice.
and so it was just like this funny thing, and then we both drew. She was like, "What is a deerfish?" And we both drew she's an artist as well.
Mhm.
And we both drew like our version of what a deerfish was. And mine was like this ridiculous bass jumping out of the water with like antlers, and it was just absurd. And she drew this blobby, derpy, beautiful little thing. Uh, and I was like, oh my God, it's definitely that. Like that's what it's gotta be, right? And she was just like, we just kind of laughed about it, and we're like, yeah, for sure, that's what it is. And it's funny because when she came up with it, she had zero idea of what it was going to be. Like she just said, let's just make a brand for both of us and then see what it is, and just let it. We had no idea it was going to be a stationery shop with like stickers and bookmarks, and eventually when we get a brick and mortar, like pens and notebooks and calendars and plushies and all that stuff, like we didn't know at the time. It was pretty funny how she was just like this tiny little concept, not like it was nothing, and it came up from that. And then within weeks, we started making stickers because she was like, well, let's just make a product that people like and need. And cute stickers is apparently
Yeah.
life source for people.
Especially
And
now everyone sticker bombs their like laptops and their water bottles
yeah,
and it's cool, man. And I've picked up a few I think when I first met you, I was at Upper Valley, you and your wife you guys were at your station.
yeah,
We bought a few stickers and they're on my I think my son has some on his wall or on the side of his computer. The
nice.
ones I bought for me, he took and he stuck
Oh
those.
no.
So I do need to go back out there maybe tomorrow or next week or when next time you guys are around.
Yeah, man. And
Some more stickers.
you can always DM me and I'll send them to you, man. Like
Woohoo.
we do ship. But yeah, so we started that, and we did Upper Valley, and that was the first time that we did Upper Valley, and it went surprisingly well. Like we couldn't believe how much we made from having practically nothing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it wasn't like a grand or anything ridiculous, but it was just like, holy crap, we made a lot more than we thought we'd be lucky to make the table back, like
Yeah.
um and so it just kind of like grew from that, and then we did do a lot of Upper Valley. We've done a lot of Upper Valley since then, but like we just were very consistent for a little while there, and we
Yeah.
established a little bit of like clientele at Upper Valley, and then I started doing mine. At the time, we were like alternating between like hers and mine, and by mine I mean like the stubbies and
Yeah.
that brand, because I was doing prints and stickers. But and it was funny because I remember whenever we weren't sure which one to do, we'd be like, well, the stubbies are a little more established, and because they cost a little more, they just generate a little bit more money, just they just generally bring in more money. So we'd always like, if we're gonna gamble and we don't know, we should do the stubbies because it's more of a guaranteed uh return.
Yeah.
And I remember that within 8 months that flipped. Like, so like we're like, oh no, like Deerfish is making so much more money than the stubbies. And so then we would alternate a lot. And then now we're doing it to where because now I'm doing like the little stickers,
Yeah.
of the stubbies. Like she just kind of does her own sticker setup and then includes my stickers there. And that's been like the best balance, because prints aren't really selling these days. Like people are not into prints right now.
Yeah.
But people love their stickers. And so like if we're both setting up, it was funny how we went from like, if we need money, we do the Pezorama stuff, like we do the stubby stuff. And we went to like,
Ah, sorry, man.
which is funny.
Oh, hold on a second, man. I
No worries.
totally like you totally froze on me, but I think it's because my computer finished processing the other one. Okay, sorry about that. You're talking
Oh
about
wow.
like the
No, you're
like
good.
you were talking about how like you guys were trying to balance the stickers and the prints.
Yeah, and I was saying like with the stickers, like now she just absorbed my stubby stickers for her setup, and we just kind of do it together in that sense, because I don't really do the setups anymore. Now we just focus on Deerfish, which is thriving and growing, and it's like exciting because we do want to have a brick and mortar in the future with like a little stationery shop, and just
Sweet.
because cute stuff sells, man. Like
Yeah,
people
you
like
let
it.
me know. I'll be first in line, man. I like your guys' stuff. It's so cool. And I'll be honest, I didn't put two and two together about when you guys were set up. Like, and you guys would be set up next to each other. I'm like, man, this is kind of cool. These two sticker places are always set up next to each
Yeah.
other. And I like didn't ever put two and two together that that was your wife or that you guys were
Well,
together.
well, it's funny because like I always tell her like it's bad for business for people to know that we're together.
Oh,
Because
they're not together. Sorry.
yeah, like like that, because then people go like, oh well, if I buy from her, it's like buying from him because they're married.
Yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like that's why we'd never like say anything.
Mhm.
And like, but now it's just been too long and people know us, and like people that have become fans
Mhm.
of Deerfish, like you try to get to know the person behind it, and so like they know. And so like now that's just kind of like not really important that people don't know that we're married. But it is just funny. Like I remember one time we had done a market at the Fountains, and that was one of those weird shows where the stubbies outsold Deerfish.
Yeah.
And it is very rare that that happens. And like, but that night was just, for some reason, my prints were selling like crazy, and like stickers. And then Deerfish was to my left, and I remember this one guy who, I think he came back like twice and bought twice. Like he was like, he bought stuff, and then he was like, I should have gotten this one also, man. Let me take this one too. And I had like a crowd of people, and it was awesome. And my wife is just getting the stragglers here and there. And it's just funny because like, my wife and I, we laugh at that because we're like, all it's doing is just bonus, like
Yeah.
if one of us is selling and then the other one's just a little bit, it's just like that's $20, that's $100, that's $200 that we weren't getting from this brand,
Mhm.
and the other one's lining that pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was funny because that same guy was like talking to her and being like, man, I'm really sorry. I really wish they hadn't put you next to him. Like, because he's kind of like taking all your business. And she was like, I'll tell you a secret. It's my husband, so it's totally fine. Like it's the same bank account. And he like laughed. He's like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay. I'll keep it on the low," you know.
That's
But it was
cool.
just it's just funny that's like our business plan, like our business model of like just if we're both set up, like we're both just doing good, you know.
Yeah.
And then now because I'm trying to focus so much on like Robinhood and build that, like it it's tough because again you know, I show them this black and white book and they get excited for it, but then I show them like the pages that are like full color, like this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, I want that, so I'll just wait for that." So like nobody's buying, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
buys anything from me right now because
They
the
want,
work's incomplete, you know?
yeah, they want the color one. These people don't even know, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it's discouraging and you have to just like have this like um you have to fight your 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 inner coward, man. Like you have to just trust that you're going to be okay, you know, and it's just like a lot of sacrifice and like, you know, we did CamCon and we I was the featured artist and all that and dude, I didn't make any money. Like
Mhm.
it was a free table and I still didn't make money. You know what I mean? Like it was just like really bad and it's because people just don't know that they're going to like this project because I'm promising them that they're gonna like it,
Yeah.
but they don't have it. And in the end, I know they're gonna like it, but it doesn't matter. Like people are just like, that's cool. Maybe when it's done, I'll support it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it becomes this challenge of like okay, hang in there and just finish the thing so that people can get it, and then you can go, you know, start showing them, and then with that support, hopefully it allows you to then just start like making more of that product, more of that project,
Right.
and just
Yeah, yeah, dude. Like, I applaud your like your work ethic, man. I know it could. It seems like it can get a little hard, especially trying to push your own brand and things like
oh
that.
yeah,
A little discouraging, but it's just so cool that you keep moving forward and just keep busting your booty and doing the work, man.
yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm very blessed, man. Like you know, Jeff, I keep bringing up Jeff, but Jeff Matsuda is like a friend and mentor. He's a like a 30-year veteran for like animation and stuff.
Hmm.
And now he's working on different things. He's working for the enemy right now. He's working for Meta. And like but he and I have been working together since 2017.
Yeah,
Um and he like, you know, he's in the position of like being able to get these massive projects, like stuff that I can't get, you know,
yeah,
yet maybe,
yeah,
but like but
yet, man.
he gets these like massive projects and then like we collaborate and so because of that I'm able to do stuff like that the Motu stuff, the Masters of the Universe, like that
Yeah.
was crazy
Yeah,
and it
that's
was
what you already started the next subject, man. I was gonna ask you about you worked on Masters of the Universe, the animated series, correct? And you did some of the covers too.
yeah, so like the way that happened was that we Jeff and I were working on he and I worked on toys, video games, mobile games, and comics, none of which you will see because they all got canceled. Like,
Ah,
and it sucks because it's like 6 years of work that we've done that nobody's gonna see, you know. And in you know that's the nature of the industry, and so like we've been working like that together for a while, and then in 2018 he was like, hey, you know what? Aside from all this stuff that we're doing, I'm working on pitching this series with Netflix. Like, can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, of course, you know. And so we actually then he told me and at the time I was like, well, what is it? He's like, I can't tell you yet. Let me clear you first. And I was like, all right. And then he so then we found out and I was like, oh, it's He-Man. That's pretty dope. And so we put the pitch together and I helped him design Skeletor for the pitch.
Mhm.
They already had another design for He-Man at the time, and it's not the one that you see on the series. In the series, he's wearing black and like a vest.
Yeah.
The one we had, it was the exact same drawing, but like with no vest because he's He-Man,
Yeah.
and he had red pants instead of black pants. But we pitched it, and it got picked up right away with what we were doing, and then it sucked because he was like, "So I got some bad news for you. This is through this studio, House of Cool, and Netflix has a contract with Canada. I can't hire you." So like that was it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool," you know. And then within, and it was funny because like within a few months, he's like, "Hey man, I can't get this character approved. Can you help me out?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, sure," you know.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know if it was Ram Man. I don't remember which character it was. And I was like, cool. And so I just did it, and we collaborated on it. You know, because it's his drawing, and then it's like everything else is me. And then around that time, they had shifted from a cell shaded to like a more 3D look, so it looked more like the stuff we were painting.
Yeah.
And then it got approved overnight, and he was like, dude, I've been struggling with this character. And so then what, it became this thing where like every time he hit a wall, he'd send it to me,
Mhm.
which is very cool. Like I'm like, oh wow, you know. And then it that happened so much through the like 3 years, 2.5 years of production, that in the end he fought for credit for my name, and it's on the series. And it was like, you know, very very cool that originally I was just a ghost worker, you know,
Yeah.
and he was getting all the glory and everything and all the fame. And then but then he,
Yeah.
because I did so much and contributed so much, that the look of the series is based on what Jeff and I did, you know,
Yeah.
like not the team. Like the team shifted to do what he and I were doing.
That's cool,
um
man.
so it was very cool that like at the end I was still able to get some credit for it. And it was just like a lot of characters that we did together, and mostly villains. Like I only worked on Man at Arms and Ram Man for the heroes. Like I said, I worked on the original He-Man, but they changed it by the time I got to the series.
Mhm.
um he was a brunette too, by the way, when we started, because they had cast they had cast the this one actor to do the live action version. He was a brunette, so they're like, all right, well, let's keep him brunette. But then eventually that movie's been in limbo. I don't have any information on that. And yeah, so that was interesting that way. And
That's crazy.
when we finally did get the show out, like,
Mhm.
well, they got the show out. Like my name was on there, and it was in. That was such a surreal moment because like I grew up watching Jeff's cartoons. He
Mhm.
did Men in Black in the 90s. He did
That's cool.
Jackie Chan Adventures. He did some work in Rusty and Big Guy the Boy Robot. He did the Batman in 2003.
Oh, that's cool.
And so like this is a dude that I've like admired and looked up to, and I literally draw heads a certain way with like the way this part of the bone like sticks out and comes in
Uh-huh.
because of Jeff's influence. And so like being able to work with him and then like seeing my name next to his was like nuts. I
That's
was just,
awesome, dude.
I remember seeing that, and it was just like I didn't know how to react. I was just like, it was just overwhelming. Like I was like, what the hell? This is crazy, you know?
That's cool, man. And that's cool.
Um,
That's cool how it kind of like it ended up being a happy and the kind of happy, a good ending, even though you couldn't hire on as another artist, but getting that credit hopefully like kind of helped
yeah,
with that. And this way you describe the feeling of you seeing your name being
yeah,
credited on the
yeah.
series, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then like so then from there, um into 22, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it was in 22 that they reached out to Jeff, and they're like, "Hey, we got this Masterverse story that we're doing, and we want to revisit that universe." When this was Dark Horse Comics now, right?
Hmm.
And you know, they have Eddie Nunez on as like the series regular. I don't know if you've talked to Eddie. I don't know if you know Eddie or if you know of Eddie,
I don't,
but Eddie is another El Paso artist. He's a freaking rock star. He rarely texts me and Joey back when we text him because he's too big a deal. We always make fun of him for it, but he was art director for He-Man Revelations, the other show
Mhm,
on Netflix. I always joke that Eddie worked on the one that everyone hated.
mhm.
I worked on the one that nobody saw. but but Eddie's the artist, and so by pure chance, uh, they had reached out to Jeff, and they're like, "Hey, we have this book. We're revisiting that universe. Do you want to do a story?" And Jeff was like, "No, I don't want to do comics," and send it to Pez. And then so they reached out to me, and they're like, "Yeah, we're down to hire if you're gonna do the work." And I was like, "Yeah." So that was like pretty cool, and that's like my first mainstream comic work that I've done.
That's cool.
Um, and it's pretty cool that like my cover did pretty good compared to like the other covers for that issue.
Yeah.
So that was like a little point of pride for me, that I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm like out there kind of competing with like some of like the bigger dogs out there, and that was cool. So I did the that comic, I did those 9 pages, and then Eddie, who was doing the main covers because he's the series regular, just like was like, just can you color these two covers for me as well? And I was like, yeah. So I did the colors with Eddie on those two, and like then we did another one for another He-Man story. But that's pretty much been it for me with He-Man. Like I don't know if there's ever going to be anything else there, because um it's just they're very happy with Eddie, and they should be, because like when you think of quintessential He-Man, it's exactly what Eddie's doing.
Yeah.
But like I'm still down to do the colors on his covers, and but everyone's like, there's a lot of politics in comics, and so like even if they want to, like even though the ones I colored outsold the ones that I don't color,
Yeah.
they're still like, yeah, but we have so and so under contract, so we got to give him the work, or her the work, or whoever. And me, I'm being subcontracted, and they're like, no, we can't do that all the time.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of how that works. But it's been nice, and all of that, everything I did, uh, those were the things that I was trying to do to gain some kind of notoriety before I did Robin Hood,
Yeah.
and it didn't change anything. So I was like, okay, well, time's running out. I'm gonna be 40 next year. Let's focus on our thing now. And so it's like that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and that's why we did Deerfish, to
Yeah.
kind of focus on us, and then like now I'm just trying hard to make this little universe, and I'm going extra hard on the art so that hopefully it has longevity. Like, the thing about comics is that, like I told you, it's a team
Mhm.
releasing a book every month, and they work ahead of schedule. They're not cranking out a book
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
month. The only guy that does that is Jorge Jimenez, who's insane. He did like he did like 380 pages or something in one year. So that means he
Wow.
did more than one page a day
Dang.
for a whole year, which is nuts, man.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but I
but
mean, dude, like I know like you're still working on it, but I mean, anything I can do, I know I'm not like I don't have like a bunch of followers, but anything I could do to help
oh
support
yeah,
you guys, I'm more than happy to. I mean, you just let me know, man, and I'll spread the word as much as I can to
thank
get
you,
things
man. Yeah,
going, and just help with you guys, help with Deerfish. I mean, you guys have a cool brand, and you not only do you guys have a cool brand and cool stuff, but you guys are super nice. You guys are great people. You guys are
thank you,
super
man.
personable, and you guys are awesome.
Thank you. I think you're already doing it by just supporting. I appreciate people that are like able to like just kind of. There's a lot of really cool stuff here in El Paso
Hmm.
that nobody knows about. I grew up. Did you grow up here as
Yeah,
well? Like,
yeah,
I do feel like our city takes our city for granted, you
yeah.
know? And it's kind of sad because like there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of good people here, and like, but it's just like part of the problem with El Paso is that El Paso doesn't care about El Paso, you know?
You know what, that's kind of like a feeling I get. I've never really had it. I never could put my finger on like how to say it or how I felt, but that's like the best way to describe it is El Paso.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's why I kind of like started this. I started doing this and during COVID to help family member, and then I had a friend like,
Yeah.
hey, I got a restaurant. Can and it's kind of just it kind of steamrolled and just like this is something I enjoy too because I enjoy doing production and videos and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
it's just I enjoy being able to just to support anyone local or anyone like willing to come on and just talk about themselves and their brand and anything I could do to help push it out. I mean, even if I get like I'll feel good if I get like a couple people to go to your table and
Yeah.
buy a sticker to be like, hey, this is going on, and that'll make me feel a little better and make me feel
Yeah.
happy that I was able at least to help send those people to you guys.
Yeah, man. Um, then like I said, I feel like you're already doing it with the help, man, because like even if it's not me, like you're already kind of pushing El Paso to El Paso, which is what's important, you know. Like I think there's, like you said, or like we agree that El Paso kind of takes El Paso for granted, and this is just a little step in trying to help it
Yeah,
with a little bit of self love, you know, for the
yeah,
city itself,
yeah.
and I think that's cool. I mean, when this book comes out next month, I'm gonna be doing a signing at Game Vault,
Yeah.
off of what is it, Yarborough now?
Are for Yarborough, yeah. I've had
Yeah.
them on too.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing the release is gonna be there. I need to talk to her and get it approved. Because it's just an idea I had because she was a big supporter on the Kickstarter.
Mhm.
And so I like want to kind of pay back by like having a signing there, hopefully attracting people
Yeah.
and maybe getting
Well,
some people to like buy games and stuff, you know. And
I'll take the grill and make some hot dogs for everyone or something, man.
let's do
Anything I
it.
can do to help.
Let's do it and get some jalapeno poppers on there
Yeah,
too,
man.
man.
I was gonna say too, like, doing this, I've been able to meet so many people from El Paso, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like so many like talented people are from El
Hidden
Paso, and
gems.
it's so cool. Like, I mean, even meeting you when I met you at the Upper Valley and just being able to get you on and just talk about all the stuff that I didn't know about that you did is
Yeah.
so cool, man. And I just again I appreciate you coming on, talking about your stuff about deerfish and sharing everything with us, and just just keep kicking butt, man. And I know I mean everyone's everyone gets discouraged on doing stuff, especially their passion projects, and
Yeah.
I just you're a perfect example of like kicking butt and doing hard work and keep doing that, keeping at it, keep on keeping on, what is
Thanks,
that,
man.
Joe Dirt?
Yeah, you gotta keep on keeping on. Lives a garden, dig it. Yeah, dude, and it's like, you know, you the as far as like the industry is concerned, like a lot of my friend I have a lot of friends who are like pros, you know,
Yeah,
and like some of them that do way more than I do. And like they're struggling, you know, and it's like I'll bring up Eddie again, like he's like Eddie's a freaking superstar, dude. And he's just kind of like tired, like, and he's just, and it's because the industry itself is just so parasitic. Like the industry is not, the industry is not there for the artists, which is what the art industry is,
hmm,
which is insane to me. But it's just this like weird, you know, it's just the capitalist greed. And I'm not saying capitalism is bad, for the record. I love capitalism, but you know, like
it's the
it's just there's
political
a,
thing, man. You already started it. There you
oh no, here we go.
go.
Let's go. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like capitalism's beautiful, but like, you know, because it's just like, hey, if you're good at this, sell it, and
Yeah,
people will buy it if you're that good, you know,
yeah,
and that's just that's as simple as it gets. That's
yeah,
capitalism. That's great.
yeah,
But yeah, like then you get this corporate greed where they're like, well, how can we produce the most amount? Because the product is what matters.
yeah,
How do we produce more art quicker so that people just consume it? And then they do that and the quality starts going down and down and down. That's why the industry in comics is so bad right now because
yeah.
I know you had Ray on the show a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Who shout outs to Ray? He shouted me out too. Appreciate you, brother. Um, you know, I'm sure he talked about the woes of the industry as well. Like, it's just the comic industry is in like a really bad state right now, and I don't think it's going to go away or nothing. But it's just it's hard to like thrive in it right now, and it feels like being independent is the way to go right now
Yeah.
with like self-funding and Kickstarters and social media, even though social media fights you the entire time
Mhm.
as you try to get bigger.
Like
Like,
my opinion with the comic industry, like I think it really blew up when the movies started coming out. So I
yeah.
think that's when they kind of started, like you said, they kind of started mass producing and wanted that corporate greed thing. And
Oh
that,
yeah.
I mean, I think they releasing so much trying to get people to come into that side of the industry with the comics. They just put out so much stuff, and like so, I'll be honest, some of the stories like, oh, I'm so excited, and like, what is this? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I think they were just trying to bring in that brand because they pulled everyone in from the movies. And I
Yeah.
mean that's cool that you get new readers, new supporters, but I just think I feel that they overdid it, and they kind of, they're still doing it, I think.
Yeah, they killed the industry because they started getting worse writers and worse artists to keep up.
Yeah.
And so now the standard was lowered and lowered and lowered. And so you just walk in and you're just like, well, this is all garbage. Like this is none of
Yeah.
this is cool. This story isn't cool. These
Yeah.
characters are dumb. Uh and it's just like, and it was all because the movies
Yeah.
worked, because the movies work in mainstream because it was done in a way where everybody can digest it, right?
Mhm.
Comics are not mainstream. Like
Mhm.
that's the point. Like
Yeah.
it's
Like
a very unique form of storytelling.
mhm.
Bill Maher on on HBO, he talked so much crap about it when Stan Lee died.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, "Oh my God, you read comics, read a book." Like, and I
Yeah.
get it. Like, but it's like, so comics are niche. Let them stay niche. Like
Mhm.
that's why they thrived,
Yeah.
because it was something that only certain people liked because it was good, but it
Yeah.
was only good because people that did it with passion did it,
Yeah.
and in the past 20 years, man, that corporate greed of like bringing in anybody and anything to get anything out, like just kind of killed it.
Yeah.
And but the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel is that makes space for people like me, and people like Joey, and then hopefully Eddie, who if we could ever get him off his ass to do his own comic, like it what it does is it opens the door, and it lets us create something that's so awesome that people go, man, forget these mainstream comics. I'm tired of reading Superman dying and coming back again for the fifth time. Let me read this crazy book about Robin Hood, this half elf, and this giant monster Little John, and this red dude Will Scarlet. Like, what the hell, like, and so like hopefully that helps people like me and people like Joey, and I
Yeah.
keep telling Ray to do his own thing, but
Dude, I
he's
did too.
he's got that.
We talked about that. He said it, like one of his favorite things is drawing his own character and coming up with a story. And I was like, dude, do it. And he's like, I was
Yeah,
like, you got to do it. It's like he was. We talked about that. We talked a little bit about that in the interview too. And I was like, dude, you should totally do it, because he said that's one of
yeah,
his favorite things when he's not drawing if he's not drawing something for someone,
yeah.
he's drawing his own, creating his own characters. And I was like, dude, I was
And,
like,
and he
I'll
never
support
shows it. He never shows it to
that.
anybody, dude. But
Dang.
but I get it. He's got that like Spawn cover money, so he's like, like he's a little comfortable. He's a little comfortable right now, so
Right. No, no,
I can't blame him either. But
no. Well,
I'm
no, go ahead, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I,
interrupt.
I was gonna say I'm not comfortable, so like I get to just do the thing that I have to do, and so it's like I guess I'm lucky to be suffering that way.
Oh man, I mean, you're just working hard, busting your butt, man. And I for one really appreciate it. I appreciate your stuff. I need to get with you because if there's still some uh copies available, that Robin Hood inked one, man, I would love to pick one up from you.
Yeah, man,
And
I got a couple.
and then just I just want to know, like, if are you how can people find you, get a hold of you if they want to do some commissions, want to find out where you and Deerfish are set up at, maybe get a little more involved with you. Where can they find you at, man?
Definitely the Instagram is the best place to get a hold of me, which is just at Pezarama Rama. That's where I'm mostly active. You can also email me, which is just pezarama@gmail. And like that's yeah, my website is kind of wonky right now because we're like doing an overhaul, so like the commission request isn't there.
Yeah.
But you can email me or just DM me on Instagram. And I go through all my DMs. I don't get that many, but I do get a lot of like hidden requests that I don't see sometimes, and I'm like, damn, this person's been waiting for like 2 weeks and I didn't see this. Um, but yeah, Pezarama Rama on Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of
Cool,
me.
cool. No problem,
Um,
man. Yeah, I'll make sure I'll include that in the information below, man. That way people can get a hold of you, stock you, know where you're at, so they can, hit you guys up for some cool stickers and some art and prints if they want. That way they
yeah,
follow you out. But Pez, man, I really appreciate you coming on today, talking with me, sharing your story. And dude, just keep on, man. Just keep kicking butt like you're doing. And I can't wait to see the next thing. And is there anything else you'd like to say, Rad, before we end today?
that I mean that should be it. Buy my stuff. And, just DM me. We'll work something out on how to get it while I get the website going. But check out Robin Hood of Archaea also on Instagram. I'm slowly building that page up with like little behind the scenes on as I'm working on the book, and yeah, so hopefully we can get some cool stuff with like cool stickers as merch, t-shirts, figurines, maybe busts
Yeah,
for Robin Hood.
I'm not for a teacher of your Robin Hood, man. That guy's cool.
Thanks, man.
That
Yeah.
character's cool, man. And it's just I can't wait to see what you do next, man. And like I said before, anything I can do to help, please just let me know, man.
Awesome, man. I'll definitely hit you up when we do that signing so you can kind of tell people. Like it'd
Yeah,
be cool if like people just come and check out and support and buy a bunch of stuff from Game Vault. You know, I'm gonna be
yeah.
signing.
I've been meaning to hit him up because uh one of my wife's aunt, she was cleaning out her garage and found an original Nintendo. So
No kidding.
I need to hit him up for some games and see what they got. So
Yeah,
it's
dude.
cool, man.
That's dope. That's dope. Oh
Cool,
yeah.
man. Yeah. Well, like I said, man, keep me informed. Information in the description below. That way people can follow you. And Pez, really, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with me.
Thanks for having me, man. It was great.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good one. We'll see you soon.
All right. We'll see you,
All
man.
right.